I'm Dr. Ben Muller. I teach at King's University College at Western University in London, Ontario. I'm here at the big conference to present on the kind of existence or non-existence of an international visa regime. So the discussion there is very much about to what extent visas continue to play a role in trying to deal with the two kind of interests at the border in terms of facilitating mobility, particularly kind of forms of capital mobility and labor, but also facilitating the security interests. And so part of the research project, we're looking at to what extent visas continue to be a kind of legitimate border tool, or are they something that is very old-fashioned and a kind of legacy of former borders, the way borders used to work. More broadly, my work is very much on security and migration and the interface and looking at the role of technologies in that. A lot of times the technology enters into that relationship through things like visas and the US visit system or the European Schengen visa system are good examples of that, particularly in terms of biometric technologies. One of the questions that we were asked to comment on was the European migration crisis. I think in terms of understanding borders, one of the primary issues is borders are always a kind of overly simplistic line to try and deal with incredibly complex issues. They have always been about maintaining a line between the inside and the outside, a kind of political order and an anarchical outside. And that has been trying to maintain a fiction, in a sense, that there's a really deep separation between what's happening inside our domestic political units and what's happening outside. And what often happens, and I think the European migration crisis is probably one of the most apt examples we have, is that there's far more complexity that, in fact, what is happening at a border is about far more. In the case of the European migration crisis, it's effectively highlighting a whole series of problems that we have to deal with. One is the extent to which the European Union had kind of aspirations to take us beyond an imagination of nationalism and the kind of exclusive aspects and exclusionary aspects of nationalism. But when pressed at its external boundaries, it seems that particularly the states on those boundaries are kind of returning to those older ideas of nationalism. And as a result, they have often kind of taken a knee-jerk reaction to use a lot of these security approaches. So I think in that sense, in the way in which the European Union can continue to hold together as a kind of political union is all being challenged by the migration crisis, as a lot of the states that are facing it most directly happen to be the states that are the least robust in terms of state capacity and integration within the European Union.